So I was working on my first mobile game, and as you can see, it's working perfectly on my computer. Like, maybe it doesn't seem that fun, but that's something else. But as you can see, the input works pretty well, and the points go up, and everything moves, right? So everything seems okay, but when I'm testing on a real phone, as you can see, nothing. I even sent it out to testers without me noticing it first. This game was pretty much finished. I was very tired of working on it, and I really needed to have a solution so the testers can really give me some important feedback instead of it's not working. So what went wrong? Today I'm gonna talk about some of the unexpected hurdles of making mobile games and how can we go around them and how can we prepare for them effectively. Okay, so I'm making this video game called Mobukit, which is just a pet game for mobile. And during this video, I'm gonna basically talk about this new minigame I'm adding, which is basically just a asteroids-like game, but instead of shooting asteroids, you're shooting at bacteria. You're a bacteriophage. So yeah, that's basically the game. So here is the main issue. Just because it's a touch screen on a computer doesn't mean it's the same input you're given to a phone. Depending on your game engine and depending on your device, a touch on a computer can just count as a normal PC click, and that's very different from a touch. This has proved to be very annoying for me because I've done most of the development of this game on this computer, which has a touch screen, and I assumed all of this time that it was basically the same. It was until just a few weeks ago that I realized I had to test on a real device, like an actual touch screen on an actual Android device. I even considered buying a touch monitor for a new computer I'm getting, and I didn't even realize that I was basically doing this whole development pipeline all wrong. So for example, in Godot, you have different calls and different methods for when you're using a real touch device and when you're actually clicking. This is not only important when you're using a touch monitor like myself, but also if you plan on exporting your game for both computers and mobile devices. Games like Plague Inc., right? So you have to take that in mind because those are very different and things may not go as expected. Overall, the main issue here, and maybe that's like a huge mistake on my part, but you have to test on the actual devices you're trying to play on as soon as possible. I know that's not always that possible if you're trying to export to something like a Nintendo Switch, if you don't have a dev kit delivered to you, but test on a target device as soon as possible. Well, all of this to say that at least I knew what was kind of going on, but I really didn't zero in on what was actually going on behind the scenes. But I already had a suspect in mind. So for this minigame, I'm using a fake joystick. I didn't really know how to make a joystick for Godot, so I searched around on YouTube on how to do it. And I chose this tutorial that was basically a YouTube short on how to do it. And that was kinda another mistake. I'm not trying to talk bad about this creator, but this guy was not really that helpful on the comments. He was a bit rude, and like, to be honest, I don't know why people make tutorials if they're not ready to deal with the people trying to learn from you. So like, I don't know what's up with this guy. But yeah, some of the things he said on the tutorial was what kind of screwed everything up. It was on the input settings in Godot, and it was just a simple check mark that I clicked on that I never even knew why I clicked it. Just because the person in the video told me to do it, I did it. That's another quick lesson. Don't touch anything unless you kind of know at least what you're doing. I think for this instance, it's better to just read the documentation. For engines like Godot, the documentation is very, very easy to understand. There's really not a reason why not to at least search some stuff when getting stuck. I also have a lot of issues with a lot of tutorials that are YouTube shorts. Normally, the best tutorials are long form. I don't know if you have this happen to you, but also like Blender tutorials, if they're very short, they're usually very quick and they really don't teach anything. Like, you may get a hint of a tip, but most of the times you need patience and a lot of time to basically learn what you want to learn. Anyway, I don't want to get stuck on that guy. To be honest, there are a lot of great tutorials, especially for this next part, that is... Yeah, so notches on screens are basically on every single mobile device, even in some laptops. I guess the camera has to go somewhere, and the
selfie camera.
The camera that pops out,
our most advanced phone ever.
So we're stuck with notches. I used to think I just had to lower everything down in the UI, but there's an actual good way to deal with these notches, and that's called save zones. In Godot, there are actual functions that help you with this. That's pretty easy, and this tutorial helped me a lot with that. It's a very simple solution. You absolutely have to do it. There's no other way around it. The moment you test it on a device without taking this into account, you will see text just getting covered by the notches. Each phone has its own implementation of how the notch works, a lot of different shapes and sizes. This just lowers everything down to a safe zone, basically. That's the name of it. The same way, each phone has a different type of notch. Each phone can have its own resolution and screen size. This is very important because if you take into account the amount of tablets there are out there and mobile phones, you really have to make your game work for every type of screen. I come from a web development background, and this was pretty easy to do on Chrome. So like, for example, you just click on inspect on Chrome and you can choose from a drop down a list of different devices just to test out how it looks. Working for different type of screens has always been a thing for web developers, but this whole workflow was very unfamiliar to me inside of a game engine. So what I did a lot of the time was just change the shape of the window, and that basically gave me an idea of how the game was gonna look on different type of screen. And that's generally okay, but again, it's better to try on a real device to see how everything looks. An annoying thing, to be honest, a very annoying thing to be honest, is that you have to make your game work on tablets. The Google Play Store and the Apple App Store require you to have some screenshots and functionality basically so that your app works on tablets, which is kind of ironic because there wasn't a good Instagram app for the longest time for iPad. So yeah, but the main issue is that iPads are generally fatter than your normal phone. So my solution for me is to have like this huge area behind the pet, for example, like this whole room being a bit bigger so that bigger devices can see an actual environment in game instead of just a black screen if your device is too big for it, right? Most people that play the game will be using it on the phone, so they're never gonna see the rest of the room, and I kind of wish I'd have access to all of the room iPad users are gonna see. But yeah, this is a cell phone first game, and you kind of have to do all of these decisions around what 90% of the user base is gonna see. Just something to keep in mind when developing a mobile game. Talking about exporting to iOS and Android, another big hurdle around creating mobile games are the differences between the platforms. So for example, to integrate AdMob, there are some things that you have to do different when you're doing Android and iOS stuff. Luckily, the documentation for the AdMob plugin was pretty good, so it wasn't that hard, but that's something extra that you are gonna have to do. Like not just ads, just setup in general, and that's gonna be very important. So you gotta test again in both Android and iOS devices. But that again is not just a problem for mobile development. If you plan on developing for Mac and PC at the same time, you're gonna have that sort of issue, and that's just the price of having a multi-platform game. There are a lot more problems with creating mobile games and a lot more stress that comes with only mobile games. Like we're not even talking about the weird monopoly thing that you have to deal with the Play Store and the iOS Store and the whole publishing side of things. But I think it's really worth it if you are really interested in making a mobile game. I think cell phones are a very underrated platform for games. Besides just the general universality of having a phone and the portability of it, phones have gyroscopes, they have gestures, they have a lot of stuff that you can use for a game. I think there's a lot of opportunity for creativity over here. I wish people just didn't see phone games as a scammy thing or thing for kids. I think it has a lot of potential and people can really have fun creating different kind of projects and games around it. Right now, my pet game is not released at all because I'm having my own issues right now with it. And my game, to be honest, is not as exciting as I want it to be. Like, it doesn't use a gyroscope at the moment and it doesn't use all of the cool stuff that I could use. But we'll see in the future. This game I'm working on is more of a lab for me for different type of mini games I want to do and create that don't deserve really their own big game for it. But that's something you can find out if you subscribe and stay in the loop so you can see where all of this goes. Yeah, but anyway, the overall message here I want to say is just test on real devices as soon as possible. It's gonna happen anyway, and don't release even a test game without testing it yourself first. Like, I feel kind of bad for kind of wasting the time of my testers in all of this, even though they were friends and family. But anyway, still. Also, I hope you didn't find this a waste of time, and I hope you find this video helpful or something. I hope to see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.